So I was talking about for 7 years now, I've been studying philosophy very, very heavily, and I was able to meet a guy that's kind of really big in that philosophy movement that's even going on right now. His name's Wes Bertrand. And through him, I learned about Stefan Molyneux from Free Domain Radio. And there's this term that they use all the time, which is the false self versus the true self. Now, I'd never heard them really define it, but through the conversations, I kind of figured, okay, well, the false self is you not being, obviously true to who you are, right? Like that's how I kind of thought about it. That's how I heard it when they would talk about the false self. And the whole key in philosophy, too, not only is to discover what the truth is, but also to be very, very true to yourself. Okay, so after all these years, after like 7 years, I finally found a definition of the false self that I absolutely love. And it comes from the book Mastery by Robert Greene. Here's the book here. And I'm going to read you his definition really quickly here. Yes, thank you for the heart war, little heart war going on here. All right. Old tapping wound. Yeah, well, if you can't tap, what can you do? All right, here we go. So, Robert says, your false self is the accumulation of all the voices you have internalized from other people, parents, and friends who want you to conform to their ideas of what you should be like and what you should do, as well as societal pressures to adhere to certain values that can easily seduce you. It also includes the voice of your own ego, which constantly tries to protect you from unflattering truths. Okay, so this is a massive thing to think of. Our false self, which I believe most people are operating just from their false self, and especially fixed mindset people. We've talked about the whole fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And fixed mindset people, again, they believe that their intelligence, their intellect is fixed. At whatever point it hit its maximum and boom, that's all it is. You can't really grow. You most certainly do not want to show any effort. You just want to show that you're incredibly smart already. And it's so funny because, most people I know are fixed, but I think of some friends and stuff that they think that somewhere around like 18 or 19, like, boom, they stopped. And that is as high as it goes. And then they also thought their personality, this is just who I am. It's going to be who I am for the entire rest of my life. And that is that fixed mindset. And the fixed mindset goes right into this false self perfectly. It's the internalization of other people that you conform to how they want you to be. And that could be teachers, family members. Do they just finish school and that's it? Yeah, isn't that crazy? I mean, to me, I would even think of, well, hopefully you don't finish until you're done with college, if you do college, right? But most people think that there was just this time that, boom, that's it. And they don't think of the growth. Now, growth mindset, if you remember, again, we talked about this a couple of scopes ago. The growth mindset is really where you believe in effort, right, and knowledge. You can gain new knowledge. It doesn't matter what your intellect is. You can still go gain new knowledge, right? And so with this whole false self, the whole false self is so crazy because it's other people. It's our internalization of other people. Right now, to be able to create, to even be able to create an epic life, to be able to pick the goals that are really going to work for us, how you cannot do it from a false self. And I think that's what most people do. And it's funny, I was talking to John Kenny, who's in the room, and we were talking a little bit about this today on his podcast. And it's a weird thing to think of, like how many of us tried to break free. We try to start businesses, right? Like we try and get that entrepreneurial spirit up. We start a business, and because we're operating from the false self, we pick a result like just simply money. Right? Like my very first business I started, I was able to get it quite successful. And because I was just operating from, I just need to make money, I ended up absolutely hating the business, which was even like double painful because it was going really well. Then I'm working over 12 hours every day, Monday through Sunday, And I hate the business because I was operating from just the idea of I have to prove to everyone that this whole online business thing works. So I put all this time and effort into something I completely and totally hated. And that was because of the false self. Whereas now this epic life stuff that we're talking about and internet business mastery, where, you know, we help people escape from, 9-to-5 dead-end soul-sucking jobs, we like to say, you know, that and this epic life thing where we want to escape the 9-to-5, that is all a part of being the true self, right? So, and one of the other things that was kind of cool, he goes on to talk about how fixed mindset people and false self people will tell you that trying to connect to your true self and design a life around your true self is actually really, really selfish. And here's what he says. It is in fact the height of selfishness to merely consume what others create and to retreat into a shell of limited goals and immediate pleasures. Alienating yourself from your inclination can only lead to pain and disappointment in the long run, and a sense that you have wasted something unique. Right? And I fell into every single one of these traps. It's saying the height of selfishness is consuming just what others created and living just for the pleasure of now. Meaning, like, for me, it was like I was just watching a lot of television, trying to distract myself, right? Trying to just consume the creation of others and hide from the fact that I completely wanted to be my true self. I really, this epic life stuff I've had in my head, I've wanted to design, I've got a mind map filled with stuff I've learned over the last 20 years, right, or 25 years. It's been sitting there, not coming out in little spurts, like definitely with Internet Business Mastery, some of that started really coming out. We talk about the single motivating purpose and things like this, and this is all stuff I've been thinking about for so many years. The author is Robert Greene, and the book is Mastery. And it's interesting because I've been looking at a bunch of, big people's reading list, and this is on the top 10 a lot, which is why I decided, okay, I'll check it out, because I've checked out some of his other books. I've gone through the 48 Laws of Power, and there was one other one I went through. But anyway, so there's the book there. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So now we know what the false self is. We have that awareness. It's really just simply us trying to look good for other people, really. It's us living our life as if all the people that are in our head saying, you should do this and you can't do that, and you want to start a business? That's insane. That stuff's not real. You know what I mean? Like all of those voices in our head, that is the thing that the false self is. Now, the true self, basically, he goes on to kind of say very generally, and I wrote it down as the true self is based on a combination of uniqueness, right? And this is the uniqueness that is you, which is a combination of strengths and desire. The desire you have, whatever it is that you really wanted to do with your life. And it's funny because he goes on to say stuff like, if you don't know what that thing is, then it just shows you how much false sense, outward attack you had on you. That was stopping your true self to really, really connect with what you desired. Now, strengths are easy. They're a lot easier because there's some really cool resources out there to help you get to know that aspect of your uniqueness. And I'm going to tell you, actually I'm going to give you three tools right now. The first one is actually Strength Finders 2.0, and the website, here we go. It's going to show you all of it, but here it is. You can take let's see if we can get this on here. Epic Life League, that is the Facebook group for this whole epic life questing we're doing. StrengthsFinder.com. So that's the first thing that you can go do, is check out Strength Finders. I'm going to show you. What you'll do is you'll do it really quick. These tests are really easy. Let me find mine here. So Strength Finders, what it'll do is it'll give you, here's my me book. We talked about the me book. And it'll give you a list of your top 5 strengths. And then it gives you an entire description on how to use those strengths, what those strengths mean. Do I have to study? Nope. You literally just answer questions, be as absolute honest. Don't, when you're doing the test, don't think of how you want to be. Again, don't use the false self at all. Be really, really honest. Even if you're like, ooh, if I answer honestly here, it's going to look bad to somebody. Right? Like, you want to be absolutely honest with this. So if you've ever done the Strength Finders, by the way, how many people have already done the Strength Finders test? And if you want to say, if you have, and then also tell me what your top strength is, and I'll tell you what my 5 are. We're like, yes, you guys have done it. What's your top strength? Joe's done it. Strategic for Nikki. I don't have strategic in my top 5. Adaptability, learner, belief. Joe, awesome. You guys have done it. That's very cool. My top one, haven't done it yet. Okay, very, very easy to do. I think it's like 30 or 36 questions. Super easy. It's just asking you about you. You don't even, like you said, you don't have to study for it at all. Not done yet. George, definitely something. Yeah, I'll report back tomorrow. Awesome. Futuristic. Futuristic is in mine. Hey, how's it going? You're a bit late. That's all right. We got the replay. So my top is communication. My top one is communication. Then it's intellection. Then futuristic. Then focus. Then individualization. So here's the thing. This is part of that unique aspect that is you. Of course, communication, yeah. That's why this fits me so well. I love chatting about stuff like this. And thank you, Periscope, when you're working, for allowing this. This is exactly what I love. So communication, right? And here's the cool thing. Once you get this, again, they give you this printout where they actually walk through all sorts of they say, what makes you stand out? Questions to ask yourself to help you develop these strengths. Because what they talked about, master communicator, well, I'm getting better. I guess I've been doing it about 10 years. They usually say it's about 10,000 hours. And actually, this mastery book says true mastery is 20,000 hours, body slam. And he even talks about how to get, obviously, to the mastery level, from apprentice level to the really acquiring and honing your skills all the way up to mastery level. So I'm getting there. I've been doing this for a while. But one of the things that it says for communication for me is people who are especially talented in the communication theme generally finds it easy to put their thoughts into words. They are good conversationalists and presenters. So there you go. That's mine. And I highly recommend that as part of this figuring out and being able to live your true self, that you go take the Strength Finders. That was an absolutely awesome. That was the first one I took out of all of them, and I've actually taken quite a few. So I'm going to tell you another one. Again, right now we're trying to, as part of the true self, which is the combination of two things. Again, it's your strengths and desire. Right, and so the first one is Strength Finders, again, and then I'll tell you the next one is the Kolbe test. And again, here we go again. Strength Finders there, try and get the lights out of there, and then Kolbe.com. That is the second test. Okay, and then you'll get something that looks, maybe we can see this, let's see, looks something like this. And there's 4 pages, 4 different numbers. And if you already have done the Kolbe and you understand the number system, I am a 5782. Has anybody done the Kolbe? The Kolbe is another a little bit even more advanced than the Strength Finders, but I'll tell you what, you've done it. Awesome. Tell me what your numbers are, if you remember them. Never heard of it before. Yeah, I'll tell you what, the Kolbe test, where I learned about the Kolbe test is doing a high-end mastermind where you had to prove your income. They had to see tax statements or talk to our CPAs to be able to let you into the different levels of group. And there was like, you had to make at least $150,000 or $250,000 or $1 million, whatever, to be into whatever group I like the way you use the board as visual aid. Yeah, I'm trying to show you this is what it looks like. But they made us take this test before we could even get into the mastermind group. And it's funny because our name tags had our name, but up at the top it had our numbers. And the guy who kind of ran the mastermind group, he was a master at this Kolbe thing. So when he would talk to you, he would actually see your numbers and sort of try and adjust what he was saying to meet your numbers. So for instance, so Nikki, you're a 4, 5, 8, 3. So we both have 8, and then we both are really close on the end. I'm a 2 at the end. Now, the first number, which I'm a 5 on, is Fact Finder. And if I remember right, I don't know if Jason's still in here, my business partner. I think Jason's higher on the Fact Finder. I'm a 5, which as you read about, you'll find out that I just get just enough information to get started. I don't want to know too much more to get started. Whereas some people that have a higher number in that one, they want a lot of information. They want to know a lot before they make any sort of decisions. And so Jason's like that. Jason wants more information than me because I'm more of a 5. I'm a general, like I want enough information, but the moment I go, yeah, I've got enough, I want to go, right? I don't need any more, at least at that time. So anyway, so those are two things right there. There's the Strength Finders and there's the Kolbe. And again, this is all, hey, Ethan, welcome. So these two are helping us. What is a number one? A number one would be somebody that doesn't need very many facts at all. I think they talked more about a number one in that particular, there's 4 categories. That's the first category. I think a number one is somebody who's more artistic and it's not about facts, it's interpretation and different things like this. So, but anyway, and I'll tell you, again, when you take the test, they will give you this very in-depth. It tells you how to use the information, and it shows you what your numbers mean, what everything means. And then it even tells you, avoid the stress of having to, which is really awesome. So for me, I'm an explainer rather than a specify, right? So it says, avoid the stress of having to prove every point, having to argue over the facts. How to get immersed in complexities. I shouldn't do that, right? Like, I shouldn't get too into the complexities. And it's funny because this Kolbe thing is bordering on complex for me. Luckily, they make these really simple charts and stuff like that. So those are two things to at least help you start working on the strengths part. Yeah, don't try to convince others. They won't listen if they're not ready, yeah. How does this relate to the mastery book you spoke of earlier? Okay, so here's how it relates. Again, he's talking about the true self. The true self is a combination of uniqueness of two things, strengths and desire. So I'm trying to show you how you can start developing the true self even more by knowing what your top strengths are so that you can know them and then start working on those instead of wasting any time on weaknesses. All right, so does that help? Scope Scout. You've said your name before. I keep forgetting what your name is. Without the names in there, I forget. Okay, so there's one more. Paul. Right, Paul. Wasn't Paul in your name before? Anyway. So I've got one more thing to give you to help with this finding your strengths. Okay, and it's actually an episode that we did on Internet Business Mastery, and it's all about the single motivating purpose. And you can find that, I'll show you right here. You can find that at internetbusinessmastery.com/203. Okay, so listen to that podcast. It'll talk all about the single motivating purpose. Another thing to help you know, like it's a top purpose. It combines all the thing to add a Y to master. Oh yeah, mastery. Pretend that said mastery. Instead of Internet Business Master, it's mastery.com. Progress, not perfection. Okay, here we go. So the cool thing about the single motivating purpose, again, it's about understanding your unique strength, right? And for me, it's hold on just one second. my single motivating purpose, the thing that I operate and I send any sort of request for what I want to do, it's internetbusinessmastery.com/203. That is the episode to listen to where it talks all about the single motivating purpose. And mine is inspire purpose-driven action that leads to freedom, fulfillment, and happiness. So now with that single motivating purpose, I actually, anytime I get offered something, somebody going, hey, do you want to start a business with me? Or, hey, do you want to do this? Hey, do you want to do that? Hey, thanks so much, Paul, for posting that. And thanks, Jeremy, too, for putting up the correct URL. But anyway, that inspire purpose-driven action is how I filter things. But obviously, if I didn't know that, then I would be taking just about any offer. I'd have to go, ooh, that does help a lot, right? Like I really want to do that. Okay, yeah. So a 9642. So a 9, that works with the math stuff, right? You want to know the facts. You want all the little specific details. So that's funny that you're a 9. That makes perfect sense. But anyway, so the single motivating purpose. So those are 3 ways to at least help with strengths part of that uniqueness of your true self. Okay. Let's see. And then the desire part, so that's the second part. The desire part, I'm actually going to probably talk more about another time. Let's see, how long have we been going? Yeah, we've been going a while now. But the desire one is a little bit harder because really, it seems like the key to this is really breaking apart that false self. Being able to look at what you were hindering based on what other people told you as you were growing up. Right? Like, did your parents, you wanted to play the piano and your parents were like, you can't make money with that, or whatever it was. And for me, it wasn't as much other people per se, at least directly. I was about 19 when I saw Anthony Robbins, as I've mentioned before, and I saw him and went, I want to do that. And then I was like, well, he's already doing that. I didn't have the tools to go, try and do that. Go do that. He was like a kid when he started, and he just started doing it, right? He started getting all the knowledge. He went through, you make money playing piano. There you go. He started doing what this book Mastery talks about, right? Like he started in the beginning, he was gathering information. He was studying other people that were doing it. But I didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't know to do this. And I definitely had those voices in my head, right? The false self voices going, oh, you can't do that. You don't know how to speak on stage. You don't know how to do all the different things. You don't know how to create a course. And your ideas, you don't have anything worth creating a course about. Like those were all the things I had in my head at 19. And really, those are all the things that, kind of pushed me all the way until just even a month ago or so, a little over a month ago is when I started scoping and when I started epiclifeleague.com, when I finally was like going, I do have all those skills now. Like it took me 25 years, but I now have all those skills. It's time to do that. Now I didn't need to wait all that time. Yes. Yeah, you made it. Awesome. At the end, again, some people coming in at the end, but anyway, so desire is the other part, really being able to focus on that desire and then being able to manifest that desire and have that, do the actions it takes to make that desire a part of your life. That is the second part of the true self. All right, so does this make sense? Again, true self is the uniqueness that is you of 2 areas, strengths and desire. That's what the replay for, right? And walk the walk, yes. How what? Totally. Okay, good. Okay, so there you go. It just took 3 attempts to make this thing work. We'll see if Jason's later is going to work out because, Periscope. But anyway, what I was going to ask you is, I wanted to know what percentage right now do you think you are operating out in the world as the false self? Again, thanks George. So what percentage are you operating as the false self? Now, I've worked really hard on this, and here's where I think I'm at. I'm about 50-50. Maybe starting to really creep more to the true self as I start doing this percent. 80% false self? So we'll start with false self. Yeah, what percentage? It's the false self. So 80% false self. Yeah, I think that as my false self, let's see, I'm operating at 75%, 85%. And I'll tell you what, when I talk about in Internet Business Mastery, we do 65%, right? Now, it's taken a lot more than I used to think, right? Now, to get to even 50%, I've done so much work, I can't even tell you. The philosophy stuff, I mean, just years and years of study. I mean, obviously, I showed you that this is my book of me. Knowledge I've learned, notes I've taken, all my notes about myself as well. Stuck in the be whom I'm supposed to be. If I'm honest, it's around 75 to 85%. Yes. I know, and this is what the epic life stuff for me. My false self is a pathological liar, can't get accurate data. Right. So, yeah, that book is priceless. Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, my me book. Yeah. And as we go, I'll be sharing more and more of that. And this is part of it. The strengths part is part of it. The desire was definitely part of it. This desire to escape the matrix and actually take control. This is the journey that I'm on right now. That's what I'm sharing with you. And again, some of this stuff is happening right now. I mean, like I just barely read that great quote about the false self. And I'm going to read it one more time before we go. Thank you guys for, typing in what you think your percentage is. So here's your false self again for those of you who came in late. Your false self is the accumulation of all the voices you have internalized from other people, parents and friends who want you to conform to their idea of what you should be like and what you should do, as well as societal pressures to adhere to certain values that can easily seduce you. It also includes the voice of your own ego, which constantly tries to protect you from unflattering truths. Like, it's absolutely insane. That is where, we're all talking about. It's like 70 to 85% of us are operating from these false truths about ourselves, from other people's ideas of what we should be. Right? And then also getting seduced into, I've got to look a very certain way. Yeah, I will do a scope about the Me book at some point, and I'm doing little pieces of it as we're going. But yeah, I mean, think of how absolutely crazy powerful that is. The fact that we're operating from that. And again, what I was saying and what I've been talking about in this one is the two different ways that Robert talks about of getting out of that false self and back into the true self is start working on your strengths. Start figuring out what they are, being aware of them, learning how to really, really get good at them. Like, as you can see, I'm constantly trying to get better at the communication thing. That's one of my top strengths, right? And so that's why I'm doing this. And now that it's been 5 weeks, I guess, I've been doing this. Now I'm not nervous anymore, but it took me about 3 weeks just to not be nervous to talk about this. Because again, it was showing more of my true self. Like being able to get through that, using your strengths, and then really focusing on your desires. And again, I think I'm going to do multiple episodes just on the desire part. And yeah, I've got to remember to write that down. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Talk about the desire. What do you guys think about that? So here's the take action, and then if you guys have any questions, we can do that. And by the way, if you haven't already followed me, Desire Scope sounds good. Yes, awesome. Okay, desire. If you haven't already, follow me by clicking the little Perry guy down here and clicking the plus sign next to my name. And definitely go to epiclifeleague.com, which is simply a Facebook group. It'll forward you to the Facebook group I run about this whole escaping the matrix that we talk about here. Definitely sign up for that. And in fact, Jason, my business partner, does this really cool thing. And I'll open it just in case there's anybody new here. It looks like it's mostly the regulars, my epic life people. And by the way, as a side note, I was talking to, again, John Kenny on his podcast today, and he was asking about this whole Epic Life League, this Facebook group. And I said that Epic Regs, yeah, great content. You're very, very welcome, Joe. I was telling him that I created this Epic Life League I'm not an expert at this stuff. I'm on the same journey. But I want to be around epic people. That is like a desire that I've had and part of why I wanted to go into business 10 years ago when I started, it was absolutely about being around and finding epic people, right? Yeah, Zach, actually I know of him. I watched him in the beginning, and his course is one of the courses I bought about Periscope when I started, is Zach. So that's very cool. But yeah, I started epiclifeleague.com so that I could be with other absolutely epic people. So anyway, so here is the take action. I wrote a little note here. So pick one of the strength tests and process it and go through it. Now, if you've already done both the Colby and the Strength Finders, definitely go back and listen to internetbusinessmastery.com/203. Listen to our episode about, I'm going to try and put a Y in here, 203 exactly, mastery.com. There we go. I added the Y. Listen to the episode there about the single motivating purpose. This is what to focus on now. That's an N. I already wiped it off. All right. Need to review mine. Yeah, I haven't done that in a while. Awesome. Yeah. Peace and good info. Awesome. Any questions? Anything else before I go? There you go. Thanks so much, Paul, for putting that in. 203. That's awesome. And when you're in the group, make sure, if you haven't already, do the poll that's asking you which time I should scope. I think it's going to be this time, and maybe sometimes in the morning just for fun. But yeah, do that poll for sure. Any other questions? Again, here's the book. I'm going to put up the scope notes here in just a couple of minutes that will have links to this. This works well as the morning. Awesome. Need to stop daydreaming. Yeah. It's a matter of spinally making this an epic life, which means, yeah, you take those dreams and those desires and actually put them into action, and let's do this thing. Thank you guys so much for the hearts, and hopefully this was valuable. We finally got it out. That is crazy that it took so many times to make this happen. I'm off to work tomorrow. So let's see some scopes. All right. Cheers. Thank you guys so much. Thanks. Hopefully you were able to see it a little bit. Very valuable as always. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to talk about desire tomorrow. Persistence paid off. Yes. I want to do it so bad. Thanks, John, for putting that in there. Blogger's book. Just in time. Goodbye. It's the end. Sadly. Time to watch the replay. See you guys tomorrow.